Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming on for another episode. This is one that I am really, really looking forward for you guys to hear. It is awesome. The athlete we'll be talking to, I just connected with her very, very recently, and I was like, I have to get you on the show like right away. So we're going to be hearing from an athlete who earned her pro card at her second show ever, then went into multiple pro shows without really any recovery, and she's currently finishing up her degree in sociology and communication. So how are you doing, Alexa Berg?
I'm good.
Good.
There.
I am so glad that you're here, like I said, and I'm happy we made this happen so quickly, and all the kind words and the way you were so vulnerable, and I just knew that this would be a perfect platform to be, very open and real, and I know this is going to be like a big thing, and I know everybody listening is going to be able to relate to a lot of what we're going to be talking about, and even talking about some things that don't get talked about enough and maybe don't get touched on or we're afraid to address. So I appreciate you coming on to talk about those important things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think there are so many undiscussed topics that need to be gone into.
Yes.
I remember when I first started bodybuilding, I was like, someone needs to do a podcast about this stuff. There's this whole inner niche community that nobody really needs to dig up the dirt on because there's so much stuff going on.
And here we are.
Yeah, still in the tea.
Yes, indeed. So before we get into everything, what is something you do or a ritual you have or would have right before your heel hits the stage?
I get really nervous before shows, but when I get nervous, I just get kind of giddy and I just want to make a lot of really uncomfortable jokes. So I usually end up just kind of dancing around and talking to the other athletes and just trying to have a good time and let the nerves out because I'm just jittery. So I just probably dance and tell jokes is my answer to that one.
I love it. That's awesome. And, I really want to just get straight into it. And something that you recently opened up about was your mental health and how you had gone. Really, you went over a year without posting on social media much. And you just literally made this post yesterday sharing what you've been going through and talking about how you lost your physical and your mental health, and you were doing your own training in June 2018 after doing a lot of pro shows, and then things were going well, and then in August all of a sudden you were losing a lot of weight without trying to, and you found yourself always going from obsessive cleaning to staying up all night. And after this you discovered something about your mental health. So can you just tell the listeners your story and what happened?
Yeah, so I entered into the summer training myself, and then randomly when I was about to start school, I noticed that my habits were changing. I was obsessively cleaning, rearranging my apartment, talking a lot to people I didn't know, just sparking up conversations, just always on the go, couldn't stop. It was like somebody had put something in my tea or something, and I was on a drug trip. It was crazy. And I was just totally disassociated with myself during this time. It was like somebody else was in the driver's seat. And I found out that I was bipolar and didn't really know what that was other than it was shrouded in stigma and it wasn't supposed to be a good thing. It was just something I had seen advertised on TV for Latuda. And I was like, oh, what's that? Little did I know that I later be on that same drug, which is weight neutral, which is the one I'm on now, which is great. But the first one that I was put on made me gain 40 pounds back. But I had dropped randomly 15 pounds below my stage weight. So I was tiny. But during that time, which will tell you like a little bit about body dysmorphia. But I was like, all I remember is like, I look really good in my shorts right now. It's like my legs have never looked this small. Um, but apparently, like my parents were like, yeah, you were really tiny. Like my best friend was telling me you looked frail. It was like your muscles had caved in on themselves. Like, wow, that's a good compliment. So if anything, I was definitely tripping. But anyways, so yeah, I found out that I was bipolar, and I just like kind of went away for a year. During that time, I posted a lot on Instagram, and I was like ranting about stuff, just like random pictures, just like I don't know what I was doing, but I was on social media, and so I deleted all the pictures, very ashamed of what I had done, and I just thought everybody in the fitness community had seen these things, and just thought I was absolutely nuts or I'd been hacked or something, and I was just really embarrassed. And I was like, I can never show my face in this community ever again. And if people find out or already know, then they're already controlling the dialogue. So I eventually worked up the courage to reach out to my first coach, Casey Marshall, on Boss Bodies, to try and have a better relationship with food, get my metabolism up, and hopefully get my period back, which I had lost. Even after gaining all the weight back, I still didn't like get my period, which was kind of scary, but it's not the end of the world, but it's something that I want to work on long term. I mean, I'm still young. I'm 23, so I think that I have some time to figure it out. At least I hope so.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. I'm only doing like 9 minutes of cardio and currently like working from the ground up, trying to rebuild the health wise. But I was eating like 1,800 calories, trying to maintain for a while I was like underground, not talking to anybody. I was going to the gym, not really loving the gym anymore. So I took some time off, was doing like really long walks and listening to podcasts, being outside. But just like being really uncomfortable in my own skin and not wanting to talk to anybody on social media, just being very fearful about just this stigma that is now attached to me as part of my identity that I never saw coming. It's not in my family. Apparently it's brought on by stress, but I wasn't really stressed going into the school year. I only had 5 classes that I needed to take, and they were all electives. They were all fun classes, and it got ripped away from me. I had to leave for the semester, and so now I'm taking my last couple of classes online, just trying to find any kind of elective credit that's offered online through 2 different universities. And hopefully I'll get my degree by the end of summer. If everything goes right, I should have all my credits done. Yeah, so that kind of leads me to now trying to get my body back in place, and eventually just wanted to control the dialogue. So I was like, I need to say something, and I feel like I need to just address the elephant rather than just like pretend nothing happened. So
You mentioned, I mean, first of all, thank you for sharing all of that for real. And I know we'll be getting into it even in more depth, but just to open up with your story, it means a lot. And I'm sure people listening are like, oh my gosh, or I've been there, or I know somebody. So you mentioned during that too that you had been going on like little rants, you deleted a bunch of stuff. What was happening? Were you posting on social media and then you felt like it wasn't you? Like what was going on?
it was like during my mania, I had posted random photos and random captions, just like random rants. It just didn't sound normal. So like my sister got onto my account and deleted them while, and then I decided to delete all of the ones that I could. So now everything's cleaned up. But, the picture with my cat, I had just gotten that cat with my dad, and it was supposed to be like an emotional support cat during this time.
Mm.
And so that was posted during my mania. So even like just little things, I'm like, I don't want any part of my mania to be documented on social media. So I just like deleted everything just to not have a trace. But it was just scary, the fact that, during that time I decided to go on social media. It's just like having a kindergartner drive my body. It's like, what am I doing? It's like coloring on the walls.
Wow. And this obviously, as you said, impacted the way you felt about who you are. You didn't see it coming. It wasn't something you would have expected either. And it was very random. So, how has that changed over the course of this year in terms of how you feel about yourself and having this diagnosis?
Well, to me, I feel like I'm rather fortunate because mental health goes a lot of different ways. So does physical health. And I mean, it could impact you symptomatically. This doesn't give me anything. As long as I'm on medication, nothing's going to happen. So I feel rather fortunate that it can be controlled like that. But um, other than that, I just don't want to feel judged or feel lesser than because of this. One thing that I had to go through was I was looking at jobs on LinkedIn, and there was a form that, talked about mental health, and you had to like mark off, and I saw bipolar disorder was on there, and you can choose not to disclose or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still an option that I had to, like, I was just like looking at this form, like, I can't believe I don't have to just like flip through this anymore. I have to think about this seriously and, potentially report it. And so I was taking a class on disability, actually. And so we learned a lot about stigma, mental disorders, and physical health disorders, and how people judge and, ostracize. So that kind of primed me to no longer be part of the problem. I don't want to add to the stigma by being afraid of what people would say, because I know I'm a lot stronger than that. So I should rather be in control, because this thing doesn't control me. It doesn't change me on a daily basis. It's the way I kind of equate it to is like birth control. You take birth control because you don't want to get pregnant. So I don't want this to happen. So I'm just going to take this pill and nothing happens. Other than that, my life's fine. So I just need to just do what I have to do, go see the doctor, and just be a good student, which I'm good at that in school. So I can be a good student this way as well.
Mm. That's so powerful too. And I remember, obviously, throughout studying psychology, there was discussions about the stigma behind so many of these mental health or disorders or diagnoses that people are given. And it's interesting how much of that stigma does come from media, whether that's social media, movies, TV. And you said yourself, like, you only knew about it from what you had seen on TV. And yet it's so dramatized, right? Like it makes it almost seem like you can't live with it and you can't live with someone with it. And yet here you are, obviously living proof that no, this is a stigma, it's not reality, and here's my experience. And I think that that's so powerful that you stood up to that and you were like, I'm stronger than this, and I'm going to make sure that that's my truth.
And it affects everybody differently. If I were showing more symptoms or was having this reoccur, then I think maybe I wouldn't have stepped up to say something. But considering this is like a really low level, I've only had one episode. There's nothing in my family. I live a healthy life. I take the medication. Like, I'm not worried. The only thing that makes me worried is watching TV and watch the Latuda commercials come up. And it's a reminder that I am one of those people that needs to take that, or that's building the deck of cards that the lady in the commercial is building. I'm just like rolling my eyes, cringing, wanting to change the channel. But I just didn't want something so trivial as a TV commercial to make me afraid to live my life. And I'm not afraid of whatever people are going to say, because I know it ultimately doesn't affect me in any way. It doesn't affect my perception of life. It doesn't affect my choices. If anything, it just makes me more cognizant about the issues that are affecting so many other people. And, everybody is very capable and very responsible. And a lot of people don't stick up for themselves or don't have other people sticking up for themselves. So I'd rather just be a scapegoat and do it anyways.
I love that so much. I really do. And I totally commend you and acknowledge you for doing that. And it does take a lot of strength to actually be able to do that. And, you bring up a good point that you're addressing something that other people are dealing with. And, along with that, you mentioned that you had been struggling with your body image, your relationship with food, the changing of your shape. And, it's really hard for girls, competitors especially, to let go of constantly being lean. But then when we do, it's really freeing, and it's almost like putting ourselves and our bodies out there and saying, what, this is me, this is who I am, this is how I got here, and I'm learning to love myself, and I'm loving myself even more because of it. So when you shared where you're currently at, how did that feel for you? I mean, this obviously was just yesterday, but how did it feel for you?
Well, I mean, I kind of woke up. I was looking at that old picture of an old check-in, and I was like, I have those pants. I'm gonna wear those pants to the gym today, and like go in the same bathroom and see how far off I really am. And after seeing those two pictures, I was like, I'm really not as far off as I think I am. I just was so lean at the time. I didn't realize how lean I was and what a normal weight would look like and what fat would look like on that same body. And so after seeing the comparison, I was like, I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to this if they just took the time to see what their frame would look like with like 20 pounds of fat on them. It's natural, it's healthy, and it's not a scary thing. You just need to be able to tell yourself, I'm still the same person. So I thought that once I kind of put on the same outfit, I was like, I really do see the same person in front of me, and it's not that far off. This is only a year apart. These pictures don't tell my story. It just says a beginning and an end of an era of what I went through that whole year of losing 15 pounds, of gaining 40 back, and then hating the gym, learning to love the gym again, and then wanting to take control and be in the driver's seat of my health and being able to control how I look rather than having how I look control how I feel about myself. So it was very freeing. And I think just coming out eventually and saying what I've been up to, it just allows me to like reintegrate myself into society rather than just be afraid of it.
Mm. Everything you're saying, I'm just like, this is so good. I love it so much. Seriously. And you speak so beautifully as well. So you're just, it's awesome. And I love everything you're saying. Yesterday I put up a picture on my story for like the first time checking in with like off season pictures. And I mean like from the front. And it was so weird because I'm someone who obviously like I help people with their body image. I help people with their relationship with food, and I have a great body image. I have a great relationship with food. I've come a long way, and yet part of me was still sometimes like judgmental of like, oh well, if I put this photo out, like I don't look like a competitor. I don't maybe look like what people would expect, or maybe I look different when I'm in gym clothing versus like a posing suit. And I was telling myself all these stories, right? Like we love to tell ourselves stories, and then whenever I post that and I'm very real, it's like, you know what? My body doesn't make me any less of a competitor, any less of a success, any less of a good person, a great coach, whatever it might be. And addressing those stories as they are and seeing what's actually true, right? And what you've noticed, and also what I've noticed too, is it's like, you're still putting in the work. You are taking control of your health. You are responsible for those things. So it feels good to go, you know what? I'm actually doing way better than I even thought or allowed myself to see. Or in my case, it was like, I can show this and be very proud of it to everybody else, not just be proud of it to myself when I look in the mirror, but let everyone know it's okay to be proud of this.
Yeah, and what's even better is just imagine the feeling of somebody scrolling through your page, knowing that on Instagram, everything is a highlight reel. To come across somebody's page that they look up to that has as much Instagram clout as you do, and then to see that there's someone out there that's posting something that's natural and very real and that so many more people can identify with than not. I mean, there's only a select few that can identify with the athletes that are super, super lean and are just like, yeah, I'm lean like that too. Like, I'm going to give them a props. Rather than there's so many other people that are like more of a normal body weight looking up to these people that are so lean, feeling, a certain way about themselves after seeing those pictures. So to get to see one of your idols post something that's super relatable, it completely changes the game to how people feel about your content. And I mean, I know that there's a quote somewhere. It's like people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. So I
Mm.
think that's a really big takeaway. Is when you posted your story, you made me feel some type of way. I was like, I just need to like look at my own check-in pictures and check myself and just check my ego and leave it at the door and say, I actually don't look that bad. So
Yeah.
why am I saying I look so terrible if I really don't? Like if I take the time to go to the gym, take a post-workout selfie, and then compare it to where I was before in the same outfit, like, hey girl, you are really not doing so bad. So stop saying that you are. And just because like the lighting in your room is terrible or you're in your posing suit and it makes you feel like really fat because it's super small, don't be afraid because it's just like there's just certain circumstances that are making you feel that way. So just like try and be nice to yourself.
Yes, I love that so much. When you made that post too, I was like, this is so cool because it, like you said, it's real and it's also like we're not so far off. And it's so crazy because we'll tell ourselves like, or we'll have these cute images or we'll have these cute ideas, and yet when we just get real about it, we're like, oh please, like what is this made of story? Like I'm actually doing perfectly fine, and like you said, not so far off, right? And you were very open that you even felt like you lost some of the hard work after taking time away from the gym. And you said you were still a little uncomfortable, but that you are beginning to accept that this is the skin you're in. And um, obviously, I'm on a mission to help people build more than just a body. And I'd love to know, like, now that you've been through all of this, what are you doing now that's differently, or what are you doing now to make sure that you're consistently taking care of the way you're thinking about yourself?
That's a good question. I think I have a different relationship with social media now. I feel like it's totally different. It's totally new to me. And I just need to keep the healthy mindset that I had before reentering social media, which is like, it only really matters what I think of myself. And I still do the check your abs in the mirror every day, like after you go to the bathroom or you're in the bathroom, like check your abs. And I just kind of walk out and just like, they look the same. It's like, I'm just going to go to the gym. Nothing really, it's just a habit. But I'm not like judging myself to go to the gym or be like, I should take pictures today. I look really good. I'm just like, I'm not going to take pictures. I'm not going to be on my phone on social media because I don't give a shit. I'm just going to be getting my workout in, trying not to die, and then catching my cardio and go home. So it's just kind of rebuilding the relationship with the gym, with like being on a diet again, like actually eating fixed scheduled meals a day, like eating every 2 hours. Like before, I was doing intermittent fasting and only eating at night because I was like, I just want to feel full once a day rather than trying to always be moderately halfway full constantly throughout the day. I hated that. So just like, I'm just going to eat after 7 and I'm just going to eat until I feel full and then go to bed. And then I would get like 1,800 calories and I'm like, I think I'm in a deficit. I'm going to bed fat and happy. But I don't think that was healthy after a while. I was like going to bed kind of bloated, waking up in the morning, not feeling so hot. But you have a lot of like, glycogen stores that way. So I would go to the gym the next
True.
morning fasted and I wouldn't have to eat because I still feel like I had energy, and then I wouldn't be hungry until nighttime. So I kind of got into like a weird night owl routine, but wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend.
I think it's good that you tried it and figured it out, though.
Yeah, sometimes you got to work with trial and error.
Oh yeah. I remember when I first started fitness, I was like, I'm gonna be my own guinea pig. And I tried so much stuff. And then now I've been doing the same thing for like 5 or 6 years. And I'm just like, this is just how I live now. Like, and I just like eat my meals. It's almost the same food all the time, but not because I'm forced to. And that's something I think also comes up a lot in the industry that I've noticed. And I'd love to hear what you think. But I'll get some girls message me almost thinking that like I'm eating a certain way just because it's on my plan, and because like not because I actually am choosing that. And I think it's um like it's about what works for you, right? So you find what makes you happy, what makes your body happy. And just because it maybe isn't the same thing someone else is doing, like maybe it's not if it fits your macros, or maybe it's not like protein pancakes or whatever it is, but it still makes you feel good. Have you ever noticed like people judge you for how you eat?
Um, I haven't experienced a lot of shame in that way, but I know for a fact when I've joined some coaches, they usually ask like your food preferences or what you've been eating before they give you a plan. So they kind of know what you like, what your go-to protein sources are. I personally have been a vegetarian my whole life, and then I started eating fish in college. So then that makes me a pescatarian. So I try and follow a vegetarian based protein source diet and not only eating fish. Um, but once I started bodybuilding, it was like fish and asparagus, but only because I really liked asparagus. And it was like choose a vegetable, 4 ounces of a certain vegetable, and then you choose whatever veggie you want. Like, I'm going to go with asparagus. So that's like my go to. And then you just develop things that you like. Sometimes you switch them out, sometimes you don't. But
Totally.
I think I think people just get into habits and find what they like and don't like, and then just kind of stick to those things, and maybe can just be seen as repetitive. Um, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think everybody can make their own decision.
Yeah, me too. I totally agree. I think it's I just wanted to address that too, because I think sometimes if we want to end like I guess the stigma of like how you should be eating or how you're supposed to be eating or what you should be doing, I think one of the first things we need to do is like be okay with the fact that there's a lot of different ways, and understanding that,
Totally.
some people are just happier with one thing than the other. It doesn't, like, just because you're happy with one thing doesn't mean someone else is miserable with a different thing. And I think that's like a huge thing to keep in mind. That way we're not judging each other for the way we train or the way we eat. Like, it's just a preference. Like, you wouldn't necessarily tell someone like, oh, like you should be tying your shoes this way instead of that way, unless they were like tripping and falling every step they took, right? That just wouldn't even make sense because they're happy with how they're tying the shoe. um but anyways, I got off track. So in the concept of like facing mental health challenges, facing that gaining weight, and also just like the body image and looking at yourself and going through that process of I don't like the gym at all and now I love the gym again. Like, what do you think more competitors or the industry could be doing to make these things more like normalized?
It's hard to say because the industry is what it is. I mean, it's bodybuilding. So the people that are going to be on the covers of magazines and are going to be advertised are going to be the ones that are in competition shape. Like, they are marketing the sport. So the industry isn't really responsible for everything else. I mean,
I would
I'm
agree with
not
you.
really sure if it is their responsibility. Someone could maybe say that they should start making it their responsibility to take, but I don't really think that's their job. I mean, so that's why I think social media is so important. We're supposed to be the safety net for people to get a reality dose. But I think because Instagram is a bunch of highlight reels, it's not always easy to give somebody a reality dose. That's why we're seeing a movement right now where more people are trying to say like gaining weight is cool. I think that was a hashtag that was trending a while ago. But we need to start seeing more people in their off season, seeing, and then actually hear stories about people getting a rebound, not necessarily just like going into a successful off season and being like gaining weight is cool. It's like your body still looks phenomenal. I want to hear about the stories where it doesn't go right and then maybe they get back on track. That's going to give me a lot more hope for an everyman to actually be competitive and to actually love the sport, say that they love the sport, rather it all being highlight reels and just being too difficult. And then, there's people going around bashing the sport later. Like, you don't want that. So
Right.
go through the whole story. Give someone a reality dose.
Mm. Totally. And I agree with you. Like, I really believe like the industry is not responsible. Magazines aren't responsible. Like, no one's responsible for the way that we usually choose to feel or the way that we react to certain things or what we take for it. And that's a great reminder to like go back to like what are your truths and what you need and your body needs and your health requires, while keeping that, that level of reality when you are scrolling, that okay, maybe this isn't what's going on, or maybe it is, and I really appreciate that this person is doing really well, or I really appreciate that this person is sharing that this is how they were successful, or this is what happened, or this is what didn't happen. And I would agree, there's definitely a movement going on. People are being more real, more honest, more open. I think that's great. And I think one of the best things is that we can see that you can be healthy you can be healthy even after you've gained a certain amount of weight, or you can be healthy and you can still be moving towards your goals even after you have maybe had to take a new direction, like something came up that you didn't see coming. For you is a mental health thing, for me it was a physical health thing, for another person it might be a life situation, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
can't plan for those things, but they happen. And when you were on prep and during your life in general, you would describe yourself as a perfectionist, right? So, how would you
Mm-hmm.
say that attitude can translate, maybe positively and negatively, into other areas of your life?
I saw this happen like right when I started bodybuilding, and that's why I mentioned it, it was because I had been like an A and B student in school. And then when I started bodybuilding, meticulously tracking my meals, waking up earlier, going to bed earlier, I saw my grades, I got straight A's. I was just like absolutely blown away because I was traveling on the weekends, doing way more, but I also wasn't going out. I never really was one to go out in the first place, but I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking. I was just trying to go to my shows, do well, come back home, do my school, get good grades. I just felt very disciplined and regimented. But then I think I became kind of nitpicky about my body, about how I trained, about my schoolwork. I was just constantly on the clock. And I kind of, honestly, I was in a relationship when I first started bodybuilding. When I turned pro, I no longer had a boyfriend. So I was like, wow, that chased him away quickly. Um, but I think it's just how you manage your time becomes so organized. So you become very efficient and almost a perfectionist, which can have negative impacts on your mental health and like how you see yourself and how you see yourself as a worker. And you start to only view yourself as a workhorse, and that just has a bunch of negative repercussions down the line because you can never take it easy. You don't know what a chill pill is because you're always in the back of your head to kind of have this self-talk to like amp you up and go, go, go. So
Mm.
eventually I just had to press pause.
How did you press pause?
Had to reevaluate my life after I lost my health.
Mm.
Just
Totally.
realized that like I couldn't be so quick. I mean, if anything, like I was always on the go during prep, and then during my mania, it was even more revved up, like on the go, on the go. So if anything, I just needed to like be able to slow down, stay in one place for the day, not care if I go to the gym, eat healthy but not track it, just like really be easy on myself. And I don't think I really learned that lesson until much later.
Mm. And it's such a powerful lesson too.
Yeah, to be a couch potato, it really, be able to do that.
Yes.
Can you be a couch potato and not judge yourself for a day? Like honestly.
Yeah. Great question. We live in a world, especially in the Western world, of okay, it's everything's go. Everything is work, work, work to get to the next level. What's next? Why aren't you doing something? And then
hmm
you should
There's
feel
someone
good.
out there doing more.
Yes, yes, so true. Like we are fed this belief, and then no wonder why people say, I can't meditate, I can't do deep breathing, I can't slow down, I hate sitting around. Well, of course you do, because it reminds you of all the things you actually have to face that are going on in your head or that are going on in your life, that if you just, because you're slowing down, now they're becoming very apparent to you, rather than being like speeding cars. You're now stuck in traffic and you actually have to see every single thing passing by you, and that's sometimes really challenging for people. Yet then of course when we do it, it creates so much more space because we're able to work through those things. And it's not always easy, for sure. I would agree. Sometimes I'll be like, I just want to lounge all day, and then I'm like, but I haven't accomplished this and I haven't done that. And it's like, well, sometimes that's what we need. And sometimes that's where the best ideas come. Sometimes that's where we have our biggest breakthroughs, or maybe that's where we get that next step in our life. It just is, it reveals itself to us because we finally had the time and space to see it.
Yeah, or maybe it does absolutely nothing. Maybe you have no great idea, but it's being able to like take time off and not judge yourself gives you just like it relieves those burdens from saying like I have to do all these things today. Rather, the self-talk needs to be I get to do these things today, and then later I'm going to take a break because I have plenty of time to do these other things tomorrow. But I don't have all the time in the world to like spend time with my loved ones or to raise my stupid feet above heart level and get some elevation for its inflammation. It's like just take a chill.
Such great points. Absolutely. Like amazing. And so much can be gained from actually just relaxing and being okay with that. Like you said, it takes away that pressure of I have to, and I need to do this, or I should be doing that, which of course can be the root cause of a lot of the way that we feel about ourselves, or the way we feel about our accomplishments, or the way we feel about life.
Yeah, everything is just a lot of comparison, I think. And it just leads us to stepping on the gas pedal all the time, because if we don't, somebody else is going to, and we're going to lose our place.
Yeah, and sometimes like the best thing you can do when you have like a full-on to-do list is like not do any of it, you know? Like literally just put it to the side and go like, will the world end if I don't do this? Like that's a great way to test yourself. I've had to do it myself because I find like I get so caught up in it, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like is the world actually going to end if I don't like post this thing here, or if I don't check my emails today? Like no, it's not going to end. My life is going to be fine. It's probably not going to change anything. If anything, I'll just feel better because I actually did what I wanted to do versus forcing myself to do the things that I normally love to do.
Yeah, or like making little mini goals. If you have a list of like 7 things to do 3 of them today, and then give yourself a reward for doing it at the end of the day, and then do the other 4 tomorrow, and then get another little reward. So like you get like a little bit of time at the end of the day just to unwind, and I think that's when it just needs to be for you, to just give yourself a little reward and a pat on the back, and then try and get up the strength to do it again the next day. You don't need to do everything in one day.
Totally. I love it. And like finding your own routine, like finding a routine that actually works for you and isn't based on, I guess, standards or what other people are expecting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no one can judge your progress. Your progress is your progress.
Yeah, there's like, I don't even remember where it's from, but I think like there's that quote or something where it's like, I can't even think of it, but basically like the moral is like some people are going to get there really fast and some people are going to take a lot longer, but that doesn't mean that your journey was, you know, better or worse. It's just the journey that you were on.
Exactly. You
So
just take a different path to get there.
exactly. And then you're okay with that path. And
Hmm.
you've learned, of course, throughout your experiences in this sport as well, that sometimes the path we choose isn't always the best path for us. And you went through a horrible experience with a previous coach. And I think this is something, again, not talked about much, needs to be discussed. What happened?
Ooh, girl. First of all, nice segue. That was
Thank
like a
you.
really nice,
Thank
nice
you.
route there.
I was proud of myself for that one. I was like, wow, I
Like
did
really crafty.
it.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, so I have been with 3 coaches total, and the last one that I was with found me at a show that I was like kind of upset with how I did. I had put out a really great physique, like the best one that I had yet. And yeah, so he found me at the backstage and he was like, "You have no business being at this show."
Mm.
And I was kind of confused, like, "What do you mean? I have no business being here?" Just started explaining all these politics and how everybody else chose this show, and that I just was this blind lamb that entered into the show and shouldn't have been there. It was like, guess why you got such a low placing? Everybody else is on such and such team. They pay this show. That's why they're doing well. I had never heard any of this stuff before. I was like, whoa, that stuff goes on? I had no idea.
Mm.
And he's like, I can pick all of your shows for you and tell you where you're going to do well and politically navigate you through the treacherous waters of the IFBB. And I was like, I have never heard this sales pitch before. I am so naive because I've only, I turned pro my second show and then just started doing pro shows. I was so new to the sport, let alone to be at the pro level. I'm just making mistakes left and right, not really having somebody to usher me through. So I just made a bad mistake. I went on his team and I went to my first show with him, and he was like, had an addiction to pain medication. It was like blaming other athletes for taking his drugs. He was taking pictures of athletes in their like bra and underwear, and as like, check-in pictures and sending them to other coaches and judges. And it was just like all this shady shit. And I was blown away. I was like in tears because he started yelling at some of the athletes for doing stuff, and he was just like losing his mind. And I left him after that. Ended up having to have a phone call with Sandy because other people around me were worried and suggested I reach out to her. So I've discussed him with her and ended up leaving him. And so then I ended up doing my own off season, and that's when I kind of had a couple months before going into school, and that's when my health really exploded.
Isn't that so crazy? Like, there's probably girls going through that right now who don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah, I always thought there should be an app out there where we have like all of the teams, and then people can like write Yelp reviews and
Yes.
their experiences. It's like we need somebody to tell us like all of the terrible things, because you only see what's hyped up, and those coaches are doing their own marketing. And like I heard on one of your previous podcasts, like a lot of teams don't need a lot of athletes, but a lot of coaches need a lot more. And so the good ones aren't going to really come hunting. So I got hunted and preyed upon, and was just like, da 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 da, sounds good. I know that you're the coach of this like really big name athlete who does really well. You must be doing something good. So because you've got her on your team, I should be okay, right? No, it's such a wrong decision, because then you just meet all the other people on the team who've had all these different experiences. It's just one person, and you don't know if they're doing their own training. They're probably making a whole bunch of calls for themselves.
Mm.
It just became like so untrustworthy. I just couldn't believe I was in that trap.
Yeah, and it's so good that you got out of it. I mean, what would you recommend to someone who might be in a similar situation or maybe is just unhappy with the current coach they're with? Like, how could they get out of that? What would you recommend?
I say get out as soon as you can, because you don't want to trust that person with your health. I mean, if you can't communicate with them adequately without being afraid of what they're going to say, that's not a way you want to live, because you're supposed to be talking to that person pretty frequently. And I you just don't want to have those toxic relationships that your horse is tied to. So just get out. I mean, one of the hard things though is you pay these coaches for like a certain amount of months or packages, and what if you're halfway through your prep and you're just like, I pay this guy all this money, but I don't want to be with him anymore. It's not like you're gonna like, hey, screw you, can I get my money back? Like that
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So I don't know. I would just try and reach out to people on social media and try and see if you hear anything good. Because I mean, I finished that show, and had some really amazing conversation with Ryan Hinton. Like he really saved
Aw.
my soul, made me feel really safe, and helped me get up the courage to reach out to Sandy. And he was just being such a comforting soul. Like I couldn't say enough more positive things about Ryan Hinton. Such a good guy,
He
and
was so
really
fun
cares
to
about people.
interview.
Huh?
He was so much fun to interview.
Yeah, he's such a fun guy. He has so much to say.
Well, that's so awesome that you had that support too, to be like, yes, you need to do something. And that is a crazy experience. And it's unfortunate when people go through that. And what also is so interesting to me is like one person can have an amazing experience with someone, and then like multiple people could be having a horrible experience. And because one person maybe is doing so well or having an amazing experience, the rest are kind of afraid to like get out of it, because they're like, well, it must not be so bad, if this
Yeah,
person can deal with it. But at the end of the
exactly.
day, like, you have to do what's best for you. And the fact that you even had the opportunity to talk to Sandy about it and be like, look, this is what's going on, this is not okay. I'm sure a lot of people listening are curious as to how Sandy responded to hearing what you told her.
Oh my God, she was outraged. And she was actually, I was like, I don't know if I should call her. I don't know if I had any place calling her, but I had encouragement from the people around me that's like, that would be a good idea, that she really cares about athletes' health and like wants to know about stuff going on. But not obviously, like, she doesn't want to get flooded with emails and stuff or anything
Don't
like
tell
that.
it Sandy, your coach
So
didn't respond for
I'm
72
not,
hours. Come on.
yeah, and I'm not telling everybody to like go call Sandy if you have a problem. Don't do that. But this is like special circumstances, and I don't know. I was encouraged to do it, so I did. And she was just really upset, and she wanted me to get out of his control as quickly as possible, and assured me that there was like none of this political stuff was going on. And she said that I could like send her some names of coaches and who she had worked with and who she would, she's, thought is good. And that was really helpful. So she helped me kind of point me in the right direction and giving me her opinion. She didn't say like one coach is better than the other. She's just like, I've met this person. They're really nice. I think that they're a good coach. She really didn't say like one team is better than the other, but she did provide some feedback on where I should go next and what's a safe move. So I thought
That's
that was
really
really genuine. She was just like so genuine and was like very maternal, trying to like, make sure nobody goes through this.
That is so awesome. I think that is so amazing. Like we really have there's so much support in this sport and among the girls and among the I guess the promoters and the people who do the shows and the judges and everything. Like no one's in this because they hate it. Everyone's in this because they love this sport. There's really no reason why someone would participate in this sport if they didn't have a passion for it. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of ride or die.
Yeah, exactly. So, when did you like realize, I mean, recently, right? You decided to get back with Casey. So when did you realize you would need a new approach or you wanted to start working with a coach again?
Just when I was tracking everything on my fitness pal and I wasn't getting like the results that I wanted and I wasn't sure. I'm like, is this my new set point? Is this my new body weight set point? Because I don't want it to be. And that's kind of when I realized I'm not going to just sit here and not be part of the solution because I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to seek outside help. Last time that I wanted to change my physique and had somebody implement it for me, I did really well when somebody told me what to do. And I think that I need to do that again. I can't be the one telling myself what to do because I'm making exceptions. Maybe once I'm a little bit more conditioned and habitual in what I'm doing to take care of my health physically, that I'll be able to be more disciplined. But right now I was just like, I'm in a body that I was like, I can't see if I'm like gaining or losing 3 pounds at a time. I need somebody to be able to say, yes, you've gotten a little bit tighter, even if I don't see it. That'll give me the motivation to keep doing it again. Because right now I can't be my own cheerleader because I can't see any of the progress. Well, how am I going to know if 7 days of being hungry is making a big enough difference? I'm not going to know. So I need some help.
Yes, no, so true. That's why I love having a coach because they take the thinking out of it. So you can just turn it over to them. And obviously when it's someone you trust and love and they love you and they trust that you're going to follow their plan, it makes the relationship really great. And you can get that really good feedback when you maybe aren't giving it to yourself.
Yeah, and I think I also really knew that with Casey, she had a very kind approach to, she does if it fits your macros or meal planning, she does both. And I knew from working with her previously that I was able to eat more of a variety of foods, whereas some coaches like to stick to like certain food groups, like maybe not allowing dairy, for instance. Like I was allowed to eat Greek yogurt with Casey. I really like Greek yogurt.
Oh, me
I
too.
don't have a
I
problem
do
with
that too.
dairy, but like I got assigned Greek yogurt and that made me happy. So that's something that I can look forward to. Whereas if I'm with somebody else that like only like is afraid of Greek yogurt or has some like superstition against it, well, maybe I don't want my first coach to be with somebody who's only going to have me eating like tilapia during the day. I wanted somebody that I knew was going to give me more food freedom. And if I said like, I really like this food, can you put it on my plan? That they would, and that they knew how to work with that stuff. And that's why I reached out to Casey.
That's cool. Yeah, I love it when I personally love having a meal plan, but a meal plan with variety. And like when I see something like Greek yogurt and granola and like honey and berries and yummy stuff like that on my plan, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh heck yeah. Like, yes, that is awesome. And also, again, it just takes that pressure off of you to be like, I'm in control of my results. It's like, well, I can still be in control of my results, but I can leave the programming up to someone else. And that relieves a lot of the stress.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's like just somebody you can reach out to and be like, can we switch up my food? Or, hey, this exercise is making me really sore here. I don't think I'm ready for it right now. Or can we do this instead? Something that would actually make sense, like swapping like an ab exercise or like a hamstring exercise for a different one, maybe because like your joints are implicated. You want a coach that's going to be like, yeah, totally. We don't want you getting injured. Let's do something else. Whereas some
yes.
coaches might be like, no, I really want you to do that one. Just suck it up.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? That is so funny. I literally emailed my coach yesterday, and then he emailed me this morning, and he was like, I know you're not complaining, because I'll be like, I'm not complaining, but I know you wanted updates on how I've been feeling, right? He's like, I know you're not complaining.
Hmm.
I need to know these things. These are things that are going to help me to build the plan. And, you know, when your coach knows your work ethic, it's obviously even better. And I think that sometimes it's scary for girls to talk like, okay, I need this instead of that. But at the same time, like, you're paying them, they're taking care of you. This is something you have to find what works. And if a coach is going to tell you like you have to do this and that, it's like you've already tried it, you've committed as much as you can, and it didn't work. And also, there's no point in doing something if you can't even feel it or if it's not making a difference, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you can engage your glutes better, like the same, let's say the same exact muscle group, right? Better in one position versus the other, well, it definitely makes sense to do it in the one that you can feel it engaging more.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean don't challenge yourself. I mean, like maybe try it the harder way, like sometimes. But if it's not working
Right.
consistently, then like don't sacrifice the mind to muscle connection to just do a move a different way. If you're not feeling it, don't feel it. But like maybe just keep trying it, keep trying to implement it, and just see if you can feel it. If it doesn't work, if it
Yes.
causes you pain, throw it out. Do something else.
Couldn't agree more. Just stick to it. And also we grow because of, like, we'll do the things that feel good for us, and then we'll start working those new things in, and they feel awkward at first, which is so normal. And then
Yeah.
it's not like, okay, let's just give up on it. It's like, no, okay, how can I make this feel better? And being willing to try and try and try, like being willing to go through that struggle process too, of like, okay, like at one point these other exercises were difficult for me, so now of course I'm going to face that with this, and being okay with that as well. So, yeah, it's definitely something that I think many athletes obviously go through, but part of that process is something we love. Like, oh, it's something new I get to try.
Mhm. And some
So,
of us hate that. It's like this
some of
is
us
new.
hate
I
it.
hate it. I don't
Yes.
want this.
That is true. Sometimes I see things I'm like, oh, I remember when this was on my plan and I don't like doing it. And that's exactly why I need to do it, but I don't like doing it. But of course,
Yeah, like maybe it causes you like way more pain, but and think about like maybe the stress result on your body. It's like your body's way more stressed out, and your brain also kind of has to work in a new way. So it's more of a mental challenge, and you're forming more new neurological pathways to how to like make that muscle work. So
yes,
it's like creating like a like a carriage in a dirt path, to make the tire wheels into the mud. You go over it every single day, and eventually those ruts get dug. And if you want to make a new path, you have to go over it so many more times to like form the path so you can get through. So forming those new neurological paths are not easy, but if you keep doing it, eventually it will adapt and you will get there. But you just need to keep
exactly.
practicing and like training your brain to say like, no, I am going to bend this way.
Yeah, like in posing, right?
Yeah, that's totally weird for me. I hate posing.
Oh my gosh, I totally love it. Sometimes it kills, I mean, actually, a lot of times it kills, but I love the actual process of it. I think it's so fun.
Yeah, it's definitely like try to take yourself seriously though. That's my hardest part. It's like I just want to cheese so hard in the mirror, or I'll be like listening to music and I'm like, I think I look really sassy or good, and then I just criticize myself, and so I just try and dance it off. It's always
That's
my
good.
my go-to. It's like I just need
That's
to
your
like get
thing.
the funny out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I never like I shouldn't say never. When I'm closer in prep and closer, I'll like look in the mirror and stuff and pose. Most of the times I just do it without it and then watch the video back and I'm like, okay, it's like it is what it is right now. It's good. Um, but then that also makes me think of like the mindset behind things, right? Like the more we tell ourselves something or the more that we like commit to, let's say, a practice that helps our mindset or helps the way we think about ourselves or feel about ourselves or look at food or whatever, like the more we do that, then the easier it becomes. And I think this is a great parallel to how important it is to stay the course and commit to it, because some things are going to feel awkward at first, like saying, I believe in my body's ability to achieve results, maybe that feels weird at first to say, or I'm going pro, I'm going pro over and over again, and you feel like there's a lot of resistance to that. And then the more you do it and the more you say it and you're like doing it like an incantation, you're really believing it, it becomes so much easier. And eventually that doesn't feel so weird to say anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole biology of belief going on where your body starts to actually react to what you tell it. So it's just kind of like food becoming part of who you are. If you want your thoughts to become part of what you manifest, I feel like it's so taboo to even use that word right now, but it's so true. Like you
It's
have to
true.
internalize like what you want to happen and try and have that manifest in front of you.
Yep. And if you're triggered by
But
that
also give
word,
and take.
yes. If anyone's
Yeah,
triggered by that word,
manifest your own
whatever.
reality.
Yeah, I mean you can. You really can though. And that's the thing. Like, um, it's actually funny because that's totally in my book subtitle, but you know what? I love it because it's true. And if you can believe in yourself and then implement those beliefs into actions, you're going to reap the reward. But a lot of times the reason why people struggle with the action is because they never had the belief to begin with, or they didn't see the action because they didn't have the belief necessary for that action to even be presented to them.
I think what's really hard about a lot of that, especially in this community though, is if you're not seeing progress, you give up. If you're not seeing like the little glimmer of your dream at the end of the tunnel, then you give up. It's like you need some sort of validation to say that this trip is worth doing. And I think
Right.
that's where it gets really tricky. That if it's a long voyage, how do you stay motivated constantly if you're not seeing the results that you want?
Yeah, I mean, to that, I would say there's always has to be internal validation before external validation, no matter what the journey is. Because whether you're building muscle or whether you're trying to get leaner, or whether you're going for a certain placement or you're going after your pro card or whatever it might be, like if you don't have that internal validation within you first, then it won't even matter when that external validation comes. So a lot of times I think when people want to give up because they don't see progress, it's not a representation of lack of actual progress. It's a representation of lack of willingness to see what they've actually achieved already, whether that's a simple achievement, like you said, setting little goals, whether it's a simple achievement like that, taking the time to acknowledge yourself for it, or whether it's a big one and being willing to give yourself credit for it. But I think when we get caught up in the look, we get caught up in the reward, the trophy, the card, that's where we lose ourselves. That's where people lose the motivation, because extrinsic motivation can only last for so long. Everything, like, and if you were to compare people with intrinsic motivation to people with extrinsic motivation, the ones with intrinsic motivation usually last longer and have more longevity in the things they're doing than those with external, because to the ones with intrinsic, when the external comes, is amazing, they celebrate it, it's awesome, but they also already had that, excitement and validation within them first.
Exactly. It just means so much more when you're able to be your own cheerleader.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And in every way possible, right? Like when you are feeling most challenged, when you are looking in the mirror and not liking what you see, you're feeling like you're giving so much to this prep and there's no progress. And even if you compare your progress photos, no matter what your coach says, I still don't see progress, whatever it might be. Even in those moments, that's where you're going to be challenged. That's where your mindset's going to grow. If you can take that moment and change it into, you know what? This is what I've accomplished. This is the list of things I'm proud of myself for. This is what I'm grateful for about my body or about my ability to do this, or these are the things I need to improve upon, right? Being real with yourself too. I think that's where we grow the most, because we're willing to see it even when we don't want to.
Yeah, we just need to keep looking for the next challenge and to say, like, how is this challenging me and how am I learning from it? And
Yes.
just keep, yeah, just keep rolling over those two things in your head because something's always going to be, you're going to be growing from some sort of adversity, some sort of challenge. You will grow from it. What am I learning?
Mm, such a powerful lesson right there. And I always like to, of course, wrap up the shows by asking if you have advice, or what is your best advice to people who are thinking about competing and haven't competed yet. And then, of course, the people who are going after their pro card.
When you first start competing, make sure you're ready. Like, don't make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Also, I think it really helps when you are in a metabolically healthy place. And then once you add in bodybuilding or a restricted dietary plan, then the changes will be easy and you're not miserable throughout the process. You want to be in a healthy spot first and then go from there. When going for your pro card, just, I mean, I know everybody wants to like write down on a little sheet of paper, ISBB pro so-and-so before they go into their national show. You can do that. But I mean, just go out there and have fun. You never know what's going to happen. And you just need to bring your best and have fun and not worry about the end result because the hard work's already done. And I know that that's so common in this industry. It's just like, the hard work's already done. So this is your time to go out there and have fun. But it's so true. And you just like can't overthink. You can't overthink it. Just listen to the people cheering your name in the crowd and try and find the music. Hopefully they're playing a good song and not Eminem or some sort of screamo. Just
I would
try
love
and have
Eminem.
fun.
I would love it if Eminem was on when I walked on stage.
I need some like Beyonce. I need some like feeling myself vibes. But Eminem just doesn't have me in a perky mood to feel sexy. I don't know.
That's so funny. I love that advice and everything you've shared. I honestly feel like time flew in this episode, by the way, because it's just been so awesome. And I appreciate everything that you have shared. And I want everyone to connect with you and be able to say thank you as well and just, reach out. So can you give everybody your info, maybe your Instagram or where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Alexa Berg Fit on Instagram. And that's the only form of social media that I use. So hit me up there.
Cool. I love it. So to everybody listening, all of that information and the show notes are going to be on www.celestial.fit/podcast. So of course you can always go there and check the category section for her name, Alexa Berg, or, if you're listening to it right away, it's going to be at the very top. To everybody who has, and I'm just going to say thank you again to everyone who's been showing love, to everybody who has been tagging the athletes, tagging me, posting, sharing, all of this. Those of you who have apparel, those of you who are patrons, those of you who have expressed interest in the Bikini Competitor Mastermind, thank you so much. I am so excited to see where all of this goes, and I appreciate your support week by week. This has been so much fun, and Alexa, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and to everybody listening, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to